Assalamu alaikum. Today's lecture is about renal tumors. Uh, Remember, when you're talking about renal tumors, mostly you're talking about renal cell carcinoma. RCC constitutes about 80% of all renal tumors, and tobacco smoking is a major risk factor for developing RCCs. Occupational exposure to cadmium, asbestos, petroleum can also cause renal cell carcinoma. There are some etiological factors like von Hippel-Lindau syndrome. This is a familial cancer syndrome of renal angiomas, retinal angiomas, CNS hemangioblastomas, pheochromocytoma, and clear cell RCC. Now, renal cell carcinoma is primarily the tumor that I am going to be talking about. And clinically, the patient presents with hematuria, and there's a classical triad which is known as which is gross hematuria, flank pain, and palpable mass. This is only present in 10 to 15% of the patients, and patient can present with hematuria. Hematuria is significant hematuria, usually painless, but can also be painful if the tumor thrombus or the blood clot which is coming from the kidney obstructs the ureter and obstructs the kidney. That can give rise to ureteric colic, very similar to the obstruction which is caused by the stone. Now, the hematuria in these patients is typically associated with clots. These clots are usually cylindrical because when the bleeding occurs in the kidney and it transits from the kidney down to the bladder, it gets time to clot. And when it clots inside the ureter, obviously corresponding to the shape of the ureter, it forms a string-like structure. The other symptoms with which these patients can present with are due to the metastatic disease and can be dyspnea, dry cough, seizures, headache, and bone pains. Now, there are some typical paraneoplastic syndromes which are also associated with renal cell carcinoma. These are erythrocytosis, which can be checked by an ESR, hypercalcemia, and hypertension. These are the paraneoplastic. So what you need to investigate when you are investigating are you need to do additionally an ESR, a calcium level, and you also need to check the blood pressure of the patient. The lab findings in baseline investigations are usually anemia and hematuria. Sometimes, if the patient is not having gross hematuria, a painless hematuria can also be present. And raised ESR is present in up to 60% of the patients. On examination, as I've already told you, that the classical triad is only present in 10 to 15% of the patients, and also the kidney is palpable in typically patients who are very lean thin or the tumor is very large. Then you come to the imaging, in which the first choice is obviously an ultrasound. An ultrasound can show you mass arising from the kidney, but obviously it has to be later confirmed by a CT scan. Now, typically the CT scan which is done for renal tumor imaging is known as the CT scan abdomen pelvis with renal protocol. Now, what is the renal protocol? It is done in a way in which, first of all, you acquire plain CT scan from the nipples down to the urethra level, and after doing these plain images, you give the contrast, and you do arterial imaging, then you do venous imaging, which is obviously after the arterial imaging, and then you do a delayed excretory phase. Now, if somebody has a renal cell carcinoma, it will be visible in the plane. It will enhance when the arterial phase is taken, and it will have different kind of enhancement with areas of necrosis visible on venous phase imaging, and then the excretory phase will tell you whether the collecting system is okay or not. Remember that there are two types of primary renal tumors: the renal cell carcinoma and the transitional cell carcinoma. The renal tumor arises from the meat of the kidney and the cortex and medulla part of the kidney, whereas the transitional cell carcinoma arises from the collecting system of the kidney. Okay, so that is how you proceed with imaging of this patient. There are no significant markers yet available for the renal tumors, and routine screening is not recommended for renal cell carcinomas. I will send you the Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, which you can see the images of the renal cell carcinoma as well. Okay, so coming to the staging, the Tx is when the primary tumor cannot be assessed. T0 is there is no evidence of primary tumor. T1A is tumor which is less than 4 cm in size and is confined to the kidney. T1B is when the tumor is more than 4 cm but less than 7 cm and is still confined to the kidney. T3A is that a tumor invades the adrenal gland or perinephric fat but does not go beyond the Girota's fascia. T3B is when the tumor extends into the renal vein or its segmental branches or goes into the vena cava below the diaphragm. T3C is when the tumor extends into the vena cava above the diaphragm or invades the wall of the vena cava. And T4 is when the tumor spreads beyond the Girota's fascia. Now remember, the kidney does not have any specific lymph node drainage. Hence, the lymph node staging is very difficult in these patients. Now, once you have diagnosed as a patient has a renal tumor, what would you like to do? What historically used to be done was a radical nephrectomy. Now, radical nephrectomy would typically include the kidney inside the Girota's fascia, along with the adrenal gland, along with the hilar lymph nodes, and along with the para-aortic lymph node dissection. So this was the original radical nephrectomy, which is no longer practiced because in the histopathology studies, it was found that even in the upper polar tumors, only 5% had adrenal gland involvement. Hence, because of the side effects of removing the adrenal are also present, hence it was later the consensus was made that we do not need to remove the adrenal gland in every patient. So now now if somebody has a very large upper polar tumor, only then we consider removing the adrenal gland along with it, otherwise we spare it. So now what we practice is a modified radical nephrectomy, in which the kidney is removed inside the Girota's fascia. The adrenal gland is typically not removed. The hilum, the perihilar resection of the lymph nodes is not, if only they are palpable, then they are removed, and para-aortic lymph node dissection is not routinely done. Okay, so this is the radical nephrectomy. Now, recently another approach has been advocated and is being practiced, which is known as a nephron sparing surgery. In this, initially less than 4 cm tumors, which when present in the kidney, were removed as a part of a partial nephrectomy, in which only the tumor with less than 1 cm of the rim of normal tissue was removed. And initially people used to think that this would jeopardize the patient's prognosis, but studies have randomized controlled trials have confirmed that this does not do so. And now even in some centers, up to 7 cm tumors are also taken care of with partial nephrectomies. You have to remember, however, that when you are treating somebody with a renal tumor, and that person can have stone disease, can develop renal failure due to either diabetes or hypertension, can have a trauma. So essentially, these things will tell you that how important it is to save as much of the kidney as you can. So there are some other options as well which are coming up, like microwave therapy of the kidney, and also ablation is done by radio waves, and also by lasers. And these are recently coming up in literature for nephron sparing surgery. Now, when you're doing a radical nephrectomy, you can either do it by a laparoscopic version, in which ports are placed in the abdomen, and a laparoscope is used to resect the tumor and the kidney, or you can do it with open surgery. Now, open surgery you can do with either a flank incision or anterior incision, which is a subcostal incision, or a midline incision. I personally prefer the subcostal incision because it gives you early access to the hilum of the kidney, and you can control any tumor thrombosis from the kidney to go into the IVC and then into the heart. Okay. So cancer survival, if the surgery is done at an early stage, the cancer survival is pretty good. However, you require to do 6 monthly ultrasound and then a CT scan after every year to see if there is any residual or recurrent disease. So basically, this is the treatment of renal cell carcinoma, and unfortunately, the chemotherapy and radiotherapy have not proved very good in taking care of this tumor. However, recent studies are showing that tacrolimus and sunitinib, these are the mTOR inhibitors. They can give added prognosis benefit to the patients, and however, the cost of these drugs is too much, and they cost usually about 200,000 to 300,000 per month, and can give a survival of up to 6 months. So that is all about renal tumors. If you have any questions, you can ask me always. Take care. Allah Hafiz.